Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, I don't mean to be alarmist, but the reality of the situation in the United Kingdom right now is we could see the beginning of a civil war on Tuesday. Guys, this is absolutely unbelievable what's been happening in the United Kingdom. Now, the rumor mill is out. There are wild rumors circulating all over social media. I did a video earlier on today, and since I did that video, it's just everybody seems to know what we're talking about now. So the rumor mill is regarding Keir Starmer and the attacks in Southport and what was known at this time and what information is being held from the public. This all stems from what an interview with Nigel Farage, excuse me, where he says this is the biggest cover-up in, I think he said his exact words were, this is the biggest cover-up in living memory, or I can't remember the exact words. Anyway, the rumors are out there. They're, like I say with everything, nothing's hidden anymore. Nothing's hidden. So we're going to be talking about that today, guys, how civil war could be starting on as early as Tuesday. And remember, I give these timelines, but then something just comes out and knocks me for six. And these things escalate a lot quickly. The situation in Ukraine right now, guys, that is wildly out of control. They've just had their biggest missile attack on their energy system for months. But guys, let's just get into it. So we're going to go now to the map of Ukraine, and I'm going to show you the amount. And I think I'll do this at least once a week, because you guys need to understand that the situation in the east of Ukraine, it's not good for the West. The Russians are grinding down and grinding and pushing. I think that's why we're having a media blackout at the moment, because there's nothing positive to report from Ukraine. So let's just go straight over, guys, and I'll show you what's been happening out in the east of Ukraine. Where are we? This one. So this is the map again, guys. This is the 16th. Obviously, it's the 17th today, but the map only goes to the 16th of November. So this was what the ground looked like a month ago. So on the 16th of last month. So I'm just going to fast forward this really quickly. This is the key town you need to be interested in here, guys. Pokrovs. Pokrovs is a fortress. It's got two railroads, one from the north and one from the south. And then there's these two main supply routes going north and going south. Whoever controls Pokrovs really does have a commanding position over the whole of the Donetsk region. The Donbass, sorry. Anyway, guys, so I'm just going to fast forward this really quickly and just watch the movement in this area and watch how the Russians are pushing forwards. Equally, watch and note there's no push back from the Ukrainians. Guys, tell me that is not an unbelievable amount of ground that the Russians are taking. I'll put the link to this map in the description, and you guys can go back and you can actually see how much ground the Russians are taking per month. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, the Russians are going to push around to the south of Pokrovs. They're going to hold at 10 kilometers. They may encircle it, and then they may come from the north as well. But guys, the situation in the east is not looking good for the Ukrainians. Now, this comes at a time where there's a handover of power from the, there's a handover of power by the in the United States, where Joe Biden's handing over to Donald Trump. What we're going to see, and the rhetoric coming out of Zelensky did, and sorry, let me change this. So Zelensky did an interview like a couple of days ago, and he said, Donald Trump can't get us to go around the negotiating table. We're a sovereign country, and he is absolutely right. People are saying that the Americans can make the Ukrainians do things. Guys, we're about to see a huge paradigm shift in this whole conflict. We're going to see the United Kingdom take the lead in Europe against the Russians. Now, however the means and the direction and, who says what and who gets angry with who and, what meetings with who, it doesn't really matter, because that's what's coming. And people don't understand the enormity of this situation right now. If you're sat there as Vladimir Putin and you're taking more and more ground every day, why would you even consider a ceasefire right now? Why would you even consider peace negotiations right now? What, like, you're getting what you want. Why would you even consider a peace negotiation? You wouldn't. Not only that, there isn't a peace negotiation to be had right now because there's no geographical feature in the way between the Russians and Kiev, I guess. Because when you have, if you talk about peace negotiations and you talk about, okay, you know, the Ukrainians have to concede land for peace. What land can they concede? There's nothing there. Where are they going to draw these lines? They're just going to draw the line in the middle of a field? No, of course not. It's absurd. You know, you need to have something there on the ground, physical, as, you know, as okay, this river is the, you know, this river is the border. This mountain range is the border. You know, the sea, that's the border. You know, and until the, you know, the Russians are in such you know, such a position where they feel there's peace negotiations to be had, there is no negotiations. So it's all well and good, you know, Elon Musk saying, you know, that that Zelensky's a comedian and the Americans can't force him, and, you know, and all the rhetoric coming out of the United States. The reality, guys, and I need to caveat this as well, you know, if I was an American, I would have voted for Donald Trump. You know, I think he is head and shoulders above, you know, the opposition, that, you know, Kamala Harris and her team of, I don't even know what to call them. I mean, you know, Kamala Harris had, what's her name, Jennifer Lopez, on the stage warning people about Donald Trump for like 30 odd minutes. She didn't once warn anybody about Puff Daddy. So how can you trust her? And these are the type of people you were supposed to say were the better option to Donald Trump. So, you know, but, you know, I have to be, you know, realistic and objective to you guys. There's no peace deal in Ukraine at the moment. It doesn't matter how angry Elon Musk gets. Doesn't matter how angry Donald Trump gets. Does not matter. All right. There's no peace deal to be had. And the only person who can, you know, start peace negotiations right now, unfortunately, is Vladimir Putin. And if Vladimir Putin does not want to have a peace deal or peace talks, they're not going to happen. And Vladimir Putin is not even going to consider, he's not even going to think about any peace negotiations until, at a bare minimum, he is up to the River Dnipro. Now, the River Dnipro is a natural barrier. It's hard to get over. People understand, right, okay, Ukraine is now, the border on Ukraine now is the River Dnipro. Now, the problem with that is Vladimir Putin wants Kiev because Kiev is the birthplace of Russia. Now, unfortunately, the River Dnipro goes right through the middle, not through the middle, goes through Kiev, but most of Kiev is on the other side of the River Dnipro. So even if Vladimir Putin does get to the River Dnipro, I still think he's going to want to make a push for Kiev. If he makes a push for Kiev, he's going to want to keep pushing. Maybe he's going to push to Zhytomyr. Maybe he's going to push further to Lviv. Who knows? Don't forget, he's got that northern region of Belarus as a buffer zone, as, you know, a further protectorate. And at some point, you know, we've not talked about the Belarusians for a while. At some point, when Vladimir Putin sees it fit, the Belarusians will have to enter this conflict. Guys, the situation in Ukraine is absolutely wild. And if you live in Europe, this is what you should all be focused on. Don't focus on America. Don't focus on American politics. They're not relevant right now to you. They've got no sway in what's happening in the European theater. The only thing that Donald Trump can, and he will, and I think he's quite right to do it as well, is pull funding from the Ukrainians. Now, I say he's quite right to do that because at some point, you know, these conflicts are going to escalate and there's going to be a conflict in the Middle East. And logistically, I keep saying this, logistically, the Americans are the only people who can have a war with the Iranians, you know, because they're the only ones with the naval power to get the amount of troops that you're going to need to go and do a land invasion into Iran. I spoke in another video. I said, I gave the time windows for an invasion, a hypothetical invasion of Iran. I said I think the earliest that can come is March 2026. Why March? Well, March is the time window that you can, do a ground invasion, in the Middle East because of the weather, because of the climate, because of the climate. Basically, your troops will be coming from America. You've got to think about the acclimatization. You've got to think about the weather. In March, you're going to get the troops hitting that ground, and it's not too hot, but it's still warm enough to function. So then they're going to be in country while the weather gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then they're going to acclimatize naturally. So it gives your troops the best, the best move forwards. Now, I don't think that can be brought forwards. To this March. I think that's too early. So I think the very earliest would be March 2026. But guys, from what we've seen in the United Kingdom over the last 24 hours, these things often get brought forwards a lot quicker than even I imagined. So let's just switch fire to what's been happening in the United Kingdom and why I think there's a huge potential for civil war starting it could actually start this Tuesday, guys. Tuesday the 19th, you could see civil war starting on the streets in the United Kingdom. So let's talk about some things that have happened previously. We've still got these, let me just quickly, we've still got these guys from, what do we even call them? The Manchester Airport attackers, the Manchester Airport 2. The two guys who attacked, who were in a punch up with the armed police in Manchester, and has it been 4 months now, and there's been no arrests, nobody's been charged with any incidents. Remember, the public are not stupid. The public saw this video and I'll be clear, guys. When I first saw the video of the police officer kicking that guy in the head. I came out on public record and I said, listen, I don't see what circumstances could have led to that officer legitimately kicking that guy in the head while he was on the floor. When I saw the whole video, I was like, wow, do you know what? If I was still teaching dynamic entry or this sort of stuff, I would actually use that video, the whole video, as as when you can do that sort of stuff. I've done a deep dive into this video, guys. Basically, you've got the attackers. They're attacking people from behind. They're striking people. You're not talking about a normal incident here. You're talking about firearms police. You're talking about incidents in airports. Look at the history of airports in the United Kingdom. The same day as well, I believe it was the same day, we had the incident with the soldier who was stabbed on the streets. We also had the hate preacher, Andrew Chowdhury. I think he was sentenced in jail. So those police officers need to take all of this stuff into context. Now, if you're getting attacked from behind while you're an armed officer, you've got to control that room. You've only got a few seconds to decide how to neutralize that threat. So at that instance, he had one of those things in his hands that things shoot out of the end of. What would be the other options? Can he take his hands? What's he going to do? Is he going to put his firearms down and just say, okay, we're going to go fisticuffs at dawn? No, of course not. It's absolutely absurd. Anyway, guys, I don't want to get into that, guys, so I don't want to talk about that, because when I talk about this sort of stuff, the video gets flagged. But anyway, so we've got that, that's on the back of people's minds. Then we've got these things that are coming out of, of what's been happening in Southport and the relationship with the alleged relationships now, guys, because these are all rumors at the moment, but nobody's coming out and saying they're not rumors. Nobody's dispelling these rumors. Nobody's coming out there and saying, these are not rumors. Nobody's coming out in government and saying these are just rumors. There's no truth in it at all. Remember what Nigel Farage said. This is the biggest cover up in living memory, or worse to the effect. Now, it's already out there, guys. You know, it's out there now. It's in the open. People understand what we're talking about. You know, I probably don't even have to talk in code anymore. But, you know, people understand what's happening. So on the 19th of this month, we have got a farmers' protest in London. Now, this farmers' protest in London, it's going to have huge numbers go down there. It's going to have huge numbers go down there because of what's on social media right now, because what's on platforms like X. The rumors, everybody understands what's happening now. Everybody understands we're being gaslit. Everybody understands there's a two-tier system, you know. So people are going to be going down there in numbers. Hopefully, you know, I would suggest to peacefully protest, but there's, you know, but I genuinely don't know how these things are going to, you know, escalate. What you can, and again, guys, if you can remember me saying this, like when I first heard about this farmers' protest, when I first said this farmers' protest, I said they're going to label this protest, you know, far-right farmers. The farmers are far-right farmers do this, and then you're going to see that sort of rhetoric. But all this is doing is getting people more and more angry, because people are looking at this and thinking, those farmers are not far right. They just want to protect their farms. Those farmers are not far right. They just want to, you know, not have to sell their farms, and they want to keep their farms in their family. That is not, that is not far right. So people understand the undertones. People understand you can't say anything about it on social media now, or you'll do a three-stretch. Even like right now, it doesn't. Remember what I always say, guys, okay? That we're living in an age where the truth doesn't matter anymore. It's the perception of that truth that matters. So whether people perceive X, Y, and Z, it doesn't matter, because X, Y, and Z is what. And so if people perceive X, Y, and Z, and it's really A, B, and C, it doesn't matter, because people are perceiving X, Y, and Z. And that's all that matters. It's the optics of these things. So, you know, Keir Starmer came out as well, and he said he will defend the budget all day long. He's not, but Keir Starmer is not backing down from this budget. Keir Starmer's not backing down from this inheritance tax. Well, guess what, guys? You're going to see on Tuesday, you're going to see scenes that I don't think we've seen in this country ever, because you've got this rhetoric now. You've got this feeling of anger building up among people. You're going to have potentially tractors in London, and this protest is going to build and build and build. The police, as they always do, are going to come down hard. They're going to come down heavy, and then you're going to see this, and it's going to, guys, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep moving. There's going to be big accounts from the United States. They're going to be sharing stuff all online. This is all readily available for everybody to see. And then the problem that we found, that a lot of people are absolutely furious about. You know, people are watching things on their phones, like, hang on. So like, which way? This way, yeah. So people are like watching things on their phones in their living rooms, and then they're looking on the TV. And they're looking at the same incident on their phone, where people are just, you know, streaming or, you know, recording things. And they're looking at what's actually happening. And then they're seeing how, like, mainstream media are there reporting on it. And people are thinking, that's not what's happening at all. And this is what's making people angry. This discrepancy, this, this disconnect from the general public that's happening. So right now, guys, this on Tuesday the 19th, we've got all the ingredients for the beginning of a civil war. Because don't forget, in these times of conflict, look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in the Middle East. Our enemies right now will be putting their bot farms in absolute overdrive. So right now, I don't know, even like, probably, I'm speculating now. I'll just say in our adversaries' countries. Let's just leave it there. You guys, I mean, there's lots to choose from. You will have these bot farms whereby there'll be, I don't know, maybe 100 people or something sat in a room, I'm speculating, guys, now. This is my own wild speculation. You will have these bot farms where there may be 100 people sat in a room and they're looking at this media story break on X in the United Kingdom, and they want to divide the nation. They want a civil war in the United Kingdom. They want civil unrest in the United Kingdom. That's what they actually want. So what they'll be doing is they'll be saying, right, everyone, guys, listen, forget what you're doing. I want memes. I want rumors. I want, I want you to make any connections that you guys can, even if these connections are not real. And I want you to pump that stuff into the United Kingdom as much as you can. I want you to pump and share and spread as much as you can, because that creates discontent in the United Kingdom. That creates division. And right now you only need a little push. That's all you need. You need a little push, because then what happens? You get counter protests, and then the same people who've been pushing the same rumors, pushing the same, misinformation potentially from other countries, they start fanning the flames on the other side. Then, they start fanning the flames of all sorts of stuff. Guys, the reality is right now we are living in a time where we could see civil war erupt on the streets of the United Kingdom on Tuesday. Guys, honestly, the way things are going, the escalations that are happening, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying you could actually see this start on Tuesday. So everybody just needs to watch what's happening. If you live in one of these big towns or big cities, can you imagine right now if there's people protesting on your street, people burning out cars, people, hordes of people? I mean, some of the things I saw, online in August, it was absolutely grotesque. That this is the problem when people feel like they don't have anybody representing them in the law, in the legal system, when they feel like they don't have rights, and they feel like, and they feel like people are coming after them, they will take things into their own hands. And we have a political class right now who have no experience in this. Guys, I'm more qualified to be the defense minister, to be the foreign secretary, and quite frankly, to be the prime minister, because these guys are so far out of their depth. It's unbelievable. That I don't see. They're so far out of their depth, and they've got no attachment to their constituencies. Do they like? For example, does our defense minister, does he know where he's in his constituents, where the factories are who are screaming out for defense contracts? Absolutely not. How do I know this? Because I'm in the same constituency as him, and I know those companies, and I've spoken to those companies, and I've said to them, listen, I mean, why don't you have military contracts? And they've said, look, we don't have, we've tried, there's too much red tape and we can't get any assistance. I've said, have you tried speaking to your local MP? And they just said, yeah, we've tried and there's no response. It's absolutely insane. We are heading to what we are in late stage democracy. We're in late stage capitalism, and all these houses of cards, these castles of glass, they're all about to collapse, guys. They really are. And we could actually, hang on, guys, I've just got a message. It may be in regards to Ukraine. No, it's not. Hang on. No, it's not. So we've built houses of, castles of glass. We've built houses of cards. And right now on Tuesday, you could see the beginning of these things start to crumble, because the next time people go on the streets, if they know that they're going to get a 3 stretch for, even being at a protest, if they think they're going to get a 3 stretch, guess what? They're going to make sure that they're not caught. Now, whatever you think that means, guys, it's going to get worse. And it's all, guys, you've seen nothing yet. You've really not. These farmers' protests, guys, on the 19th, I think they're just going to be the beginning. And obviously, I wouldn't want anyone to go out there and cause any trouble to anyone, because when you're, and guys, and how do I put this? How do I use these words? How do I use these words didactically? What we run the danger of is mob rule. And once a mob starts, once that momentum starts with the mob, you can't stop it. I mean, you look back through history. Once a mob starts, it becomes vicious and violent. There's no rule of law. And then people are, you know, just destroying people's property and hurting people and harming people. And, you know, a lot of the time, the people who they're harming are innocent. And that's what we run the danger of right now, absolute mob rule. But if mob rule happens, it's been brought on by absolute failures of the current government. It's been brought on by, you know, this perception of gaslighting. Now, I'm being very careful with my words there and saying the perception of gaslighting, because it may be the case that we're not being gaslit, although I personally think we are, but it may be the case. Now, the government are not coming out and telling people, you know, listen, guys, you know, and not giving anyone any other information. So, you know, you kind of don't see that argument. But again, it may be there. Now, these rumors, I'm going to end on this, guys, but if these rumors, and they are rumors at this point, because there's, again, it's just what people are saying, but there's an overwhelming, if you go on X, there's an overwhelming amount of questions being asked. There's an overwhelming amount of mainstream media articles being shared that people are investigating. Guys, remember what I keep saying, nothing is hidden anymore. All these articles come out. You can join these dots yourself. You know, if this is true, I don't see how Keir Starmer can stay in power any longer than Wednesday, really. It's all going to depend what happens on this farmers' protest. Again, it may go peacefully. It may go without a hitch. I don't think that's going to be the case, guys. I really don't. I think you're going to see a lot of angry people in London on Tuesday. And I just hope that we don't have mob rule, because I've seen this in lots of countries and it's not good for anyone. It really isn't. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to back to grid. I'll get you guys another video later.